Hey Indie Warriors, Ashley here with I Dream of Indie, and today we're going to take a look at Unexplored 2 on PC. The game is available on the Epic Store, Steam, and the Xbox ecosystem.
Yatta!
So, Unexplored 2. Wow, what an interesting little title. Developed by Amsterdam-based Ludomotion and published by Big Sugar. I can't not laugh every time I say that. Unexplored 2 is marketed as a roguelite, but it's so much more than that, and here are my thoughts. For the purpose of this review, when referring to roguelike, I will be also referring to roguelites, and cover all of them with that one phrase. Unexplored 2 works differently to most other roguelike games. Each time you die, you start a brand new character. However, you can either opt to start your entire world again, or carry on in the same world after fast forwarding a few years, appearing as the eventual successor to pick up the mantle. This is a twist on the Bloodlines mechanic in Rogue Legacy, where you would play as the heir of the last character. Here you are following on from the legacy of your predecessor in your quest to finish what they started. After writing this section, I learnt the devs actually called this their legacy system. Who'd have thought? This is a really great twist on the mechanic, as you are simultaneously uncovering the mysteries of this land as you play and creating your own legend after your character has run their course. You start your story as the Wayfarer, the chosen one that is burdened with the responsibility to destroy the staff of Yendor from whence it came. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but a striking resemblance to one magic piece of evil finger jewellery. This storyline worked for Lord of the Rings because, well, it's Lord of the Rings, but this opening did very little to get me invested in my character. Other than some flavour text about my culture and race, my character felt like a run-of-the-mill chosen one tasked with setting the world straight, yada yada yada, with virtually nothing compelling about them. A mere vessel for the player. This wouldn't be so much of an issue in traditional roguelikes, but this game really leans on the RPG elements. It is definitely an RPG first, roguelike second, with some characters easily lasting longer than 2+ hours per run. You'll be glad to know there is a save option, which after playing Returnal last year, is very welcome. When I say RPG elements, this is where I think the game really ups the ante. It takes many of the trappings from traditional D&D style games with a procedurally generated world and a skill check dialogue minigame that is played to determine the success or failure in conversations or other tricky activities. This was a very interesting take. You have a selection of coins in a pool, and you pick them out at random, with each coin having a positive, neutral, or negative outcome on the proceedings. The aim is to eventually land on a green tick to succeed, or a red cross to fail. A green positive coin could add extra green ticks to your pot, or a blue coin could let you get more draws until you finally get either a green tick or a red cross. If you run out of draws, you can pay the only traditional currency in the game, sparks, to get more chances. You don't level up using XP, however. Your character's gear and abilities to earn completing side quests make up your character's strength. In traditional roguelite fashion, items are carried over between playthroughs and stored in a vault, adding to the sense of purpose between each run, which made me almost mourn my silent protagonist from my last playthrough, even though they had no personality. Your sacrifice won't be in vain. The items stored are powerful. I had a sigil that I combined with my two-handed greatsword, giving a +1 damage boost, whilst also acting as a light, and another gave the same sword a +3 if I used a charge attack. The world building is brilliant, and even though I criticised our character and their motives, upon delving deeper I realised this just wasn't important, as the ever-changing world is the main attraction. Fans looking for a tailored, immersive story won't find it here, but the game is dripping with lore. Initially, with a weak starting premise, I had very little interest in uncovering the mysteries of this game, yet with each glyph I read, book I consumed, and tale told by an elder, I was slowly and deeply drawn into Unexplored 2. The game is a slow burn, but snowballs, getting better and better the more time you put into it. The opening sections can be a little disorientating as you make your way to the first hub area, Haven, but then you are pretty much let loose to explore in a variety of directions. The world opens up this charming D&D style map, and then you're off. This initially was quite imposing, as the game is layered with mechanical depth and systems that at first seem pretty overwhelming. For example, the game has a robust camping system where you can repair gear, cook and eat food to gain health, learn a skill, or recover from fatigue. I had an instance where I had to walk through a river to proceed on my journey, but that gave me the wet status effect. That, over time, would have a negative effect on my character by making them lose hope. At the start of your adventure, you assign hope skills to your character. These can be lost and cannot be recovered. So in essence, if you stay wet for too long, your character will begin to lose important skills. This can be solved by simply camping at a warm fire. This mechanic is touched on, but it isn't until it happens that you truly learn. There are so many of these interactions, learning how these systems function is a rewarding process, but again requires dedication. Unexplored 2 is one of those games that gives back as much as you are willing to put in. The game respects the player enough to let them uncover the mechanics and mysteries, and with that is a richness and depth that gives the game plenty of interesting ways to play. The replayability here is fantastic, and I hardly feel like I've scratched the surface. Artistically, the game is a powerhouse, with sweeping orchestral tracks that can't help but spur you on. The menu music at the start was pulling at my heartstrings from the offset. It almost felt as though the audio was changing depending on my situation whilst I was playing, making the game feel more tailored for it. Environmental sounds land with a punch, with dropping rocks, wind and echoing caves sucking me in. The 3D art style is reminiscent of last year's Death's Door or the recently released Tunic. Vibrant, colourful and inviting, there is a warmth to Unexplored 2 that feels comfortable. The game has one of the best implementations of difficulty adjustment I've ever seen. You get a chance before a run to pick from a selection of perks that either make the game harder or easier. These are colour coded. A far more creative way than adjusting damage output or enemy health pools. These can drastically change up a playthrough. One of the skills, Hazards Don't Kill, makes it so that you can't be dealt a killing blow by an environmental hazard. Or Extra Sparks, which gives you more sparks to play with, the game's currency. These can vary wildly and definitely change up the approach. Having difficulty baked into optional perks is something I definitely want to see other developers doing in the future. Biggest negative I found with Unexplored 2 is the combat. However, this does come with a caveat. The combat isn't as prevalent as it is with many other roguelikes compared to something like Hades or Dead Cells. Many of the interactions are dialogue based, and you can skip some conflicts entirely if you choose, but not all of them. Because of this, I can't give the combat a free pass. Combat is floaty and doesn't feel precise. Moving around the map feels as though your character is on skates, where the momentum seems to carry on just a little bit too long. It feels difficult to be precise, and in a game where combat is far less hack and slash and more methodical, precision is the currency, and Unexplored 2's wishing well is running dry. Having a designated lock-on system would help massively with this issue. Weapons can get damaged and need repairing at campsites, and loot feels meaningful, as little is typically dropped, but when it does, it feels consequential. Your staff has varying properties depending on your location. I won't spoil these, but one of the early uses had me throwing a speck of light across an open chasm, letting go of the button to teleport across in order to solve a puzzle. Much of the joy of Unexplored 2 is uncovering the way in which its mechanics work, as well as exploring the lush, intriguing environments. Trying to tackle everything is not advised, and avoiding battles in most cases benefits you, as not every enemy drops something of use. The game doesn't hold your hand, respects the player, and asks them to explore in every sense of the word. I would have hoped for tighter combat controls, but that being said, Unexplored 2 is like nothing I have played to date, and if you have that itch for a challenge, you will find that and a whole lot of extra depth to go along with it.
Thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content here at I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors and legends that help make this channel possible. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Christian Cruz, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, Julian Colbus, Jesse, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Strick9, and Chic Geek. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Jen Rose, Larkison, Mitchell Hall, Peach, Skeptism, C. Coyle, Nathan Moore, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Carmen Red, Jace Glover, King of the Hatch, and Ophidian Mind. Thank you so much for everything that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Head on down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.